has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
35-30, 35-40, 45-50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the miss.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ian Fritz Show. As always, it's me, Ian Fritz. We are here 2 weeks removed from the national championship game, 1 week removed from Nick Saban retiring, and all the ripple effects of that have been going on. We have a lot to talk about. And you may be wondering, Ian, why are we set in this seascape with a couple ships behind you? Maybe we're not on a ship yet, but we'll get on a ship here in a second. Maybe there's cannonballs firing behind me. We're going to get into all that in a second. But first, I want to talk with you guys about just a couple housekeeping items for the Ian Fritz Show. As you all know, this logo will be going away. We are trying to find a new logo, and I asked you guys to help me out, and you didn't. And I'm kind of disappointed in you guys. I thought you guys would be more help, and you weren't. So that is on you guys, and that is not my fault at all. That is only your fault, and I'm kind of frustrated with you guys right now. So if I seem a little frustrated, that's why. But we've got a new logo on the way. If not by next episode, we will have it in the next couple episodes. The new logo will be on a new mug, and we will have a new hat with a logo. And hopefully we can get it behind me at some point. But the new logo is on its way. I have 5 or 6 that I'm trying to sort through right now. And I'm excited for you guys to see the new logo and just get a better logo. That's the main goal. And it incorporates, some football aspects, some podcast aspects. So I'm excited for the new logo. I'm excited for you guys to see it when it is official. And I can't wait for that. Now, enough about the show. Let's get into some happenings in the college football world. Now, the background behind me, either a seascape or we're on a boat and it's rocking, maybe a rough, stormy night. And why are we on this rough, stormy sea? Well, we're on a rough, stormy sea because we're the Alabama Crimson Tide right now. That's who we are. Right now, we are on this ship. If you're an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, you are just rocking up and down. You're getting seasick. You haven't felt this in years. You've been the other team I'm about to talk about here in a little bit. You've been that team for the past 25 years, for the past 20 years. You've been the smooth sailing, nothing in sight, just you in the open ocean. That's Alabama Crimson Tide for the last 20 years. Not today and not right now. They're on this rocky ship after Nick Saban retired. Now, they hired Kalen DeBoer, and I came on here and I said, this is a great hire. Kalen DeBoer is a great football coach. Everything he touches, they win. No matter where he is, no matter what they do, you can always count on a Kalen DeBoer football team to win football games. And in my mind, that's the most important part about a college football team. As long as they win, your fans should be happy. And that's what Kalen DeBoer does. Now, college football is a different animal here, ladies and gentlemen, because you've got to win. You've got to recruit at a high level. You've got to transfer portal at a high level. You've got to keep your fans happy. You got to give them the ability to come get gear. You got to give them good season ticket passes or whatever it might be. You've got to figure a lot out as a college football head coach. And you've got to build the program in a way where you can do all three of those: winning, transfer portal, and recruiting, all three of those things at a high level. Now, Kalen DeBoer doesn't have the track record of recruiting and transfer portaling that Nick Saban does. He doesn't have that track record. What he does have track record of is winning. That's number one importance. But for Alabama, they've been number one in winning. They've been number one in recruiting. They've been number one in getting transfers for the last 20 years, guys. That's what they've been doing. They've been at the top of the mountain. And a lot of people are hitting that panic button. They're not liking the little sea. They're not liking the rough seas that they're on right now. And every college football team has this patch. They have a patch in the open ocean. When you're in the open ocean, you're going to hit some rough seas. And every college football team is like a boat in the open ocean. At some point, you're going to have some smooth sailing. It's nice to be a part of this team. And then there's other times right now for Alabama where you're a part of this and you're like, well, get me out of here. Get me some smooth sailing. And just PSA to Alabama fans, there will be some smooth sailing for you here in the future. I have no doubt about it. I believe Kalen DeBoer will get the ship, turn it around, and on some smooth seas. No doubt about it. But for now, Why are you on rough seas? What is happening in these rough seas? Well, 3 pretty big items have come up for Alabama. Most notably, Caleb Downs, superstar true freshman safety, probably the best player in all of college football heading into next year. He has jumped the ship. He saw these rocky seas and was like, no, I'm out. Get me somewhere on some smooth seas, okay? Get me on a smooth ship. Give me some smooth sailing going on. That's what Caleb Downs said. And he's like, I'm done. And he hopped in that portal, and he jumped through that portal, and he got shipped away over to, everybody thought it was going to be Georgia Bulldogs, me included. I thought Georgia, hey, that's where he's from. He's from Georgia, 5-star. Kirby Smart's not letting him get away twice. And he got away twice. He went to Alabama. Now he's going to Ohio State. We're going to talk about Ohio State in a little bit. They're the smooth ship. They're the smooth seas ship right now. But Caleb Downs, you lose the best true freshman in all of college football. He won that award last year. You lose that player because he wanted to play for Nick Saban. He said it. He said, I probably would have gone somewhere else, but because Nick Saban was there, I went to Alabama. And he's gone. He's the reason I was here. He's gone. I'm gone as well. If the reason you go somewhere leaves, you have every right to leave. Don't have an issue with that. Don't have an issue with that at all. Now, some Alabama fans might have an issue with that. They say, we got to get this thing figured out. This, you cannot have this. When a coach retires, not everybody can just jump ship. It shouldn't be how this is it. If a coach leaves, players should not be able to leave. That's not how it is. We don't like this. This isn't how it should be. And they're saying that because they have about 30 players in the transfer portal right now. And the issue with that is it's filled up with Alabama players, but because the transfer portal window had closed, there's no other players for Alabama to replenish with, except for from Washington or Arizona, because those had head coaching moves as well. But there's not the plethora of players that other teams had the advantage of getting, because they didn't have a head coaching change. They knew, hey, we got this stability. We can go in the portal. We need a defensive lineman. Let's go get one. We need a running back. Let's go get one. Alabama had everything in place. They had a top 3 recruiting class coming in. They had some nice transfers coming in. And then Nick Saban was like, dude, I'm done. I am done. Let me get out of here. Get Kalen DeBoer in here. Get a proven winner in here. He'll figure out the recruiting and the transfers later. I'm going to leave, and I'm done. And ever since he did that, the storm has started at Alabama. Rough seas, guys. I'm talking real bad. Real bad. And, my heart goes out to Alabama. It doesn't actually, because they've been at the top of the mountain for so long. It's about time they experience some tragedy, some downfall. And it's not even a downfall. They're just losing a couple players. They have a top 3 recruiting class come in. Yes, they're going to have some young guys have to play some different positions, but they have, the good thing about Alabama is the young guys they bring in, they're Caleb Downs-esque. Now, I think Caleb Downs is on a tier of his own, but they're bringing in extremely talented players every year. That's not going to change under Kalen DeBoer, I don't think. Now, Caleb Downs, he left. He's out of here. He's at Ohio State now. Best player in the country heading into next year, no doubt about it. Dude is incredible. Now, another player that they lost, and the rumors were that he was going to leave anyways, he was homesick. Caden Proctor, big-time tackle, big-time offensive tackle from Iowa. He is heading back to Iowa. This is a huge loss. No doubt about it. And these 3 losses I'm talking about from Alabama, Caleb Downs, Caden Proctor, and one other that I will get to in a second, they're huge losses. You can't understate the losses that Alabama is struggling. And some teams are just shooting cannonballs right into their ship, and it feels like they're drowning and their ship is sinking right now. If you're Alabama, it feels like your ship is going under and there's nothing you can do. You're trying to scoop out the buckets of water that's filling up the boat and weighing it down. But there's nothing you can do because you can't refill. You can't patch those holes up with player from UTSA, player from Troy, because all those players are gone. The transfer portal's closed. You can't go get a Caden Proctor replacement. One, because he's not really replaceable. They don't have 6'7", 350-pound offensive linemen just growing on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees, and Caden Proctors don't grow on trees. That's a quote. Write that down if you guys heard that. I'll say that again. Money doesn't grow on trees, and Caden Proctor doesn't grow on trees. Now, money grows on trees for Caden Proctor and for Caleb Downs and for a unnamed quarterback that I will mention here in a second. Money's growing on trees for those guys, and money's growing on trees for players that are jumping in the transfer portal. But in general, for your average person, money doesn't grow on trees unless you're an uber talented player that's hopping in a transfer portal. In that case, you get a whole bunch of money trees, okay? Now, Caden Proctor, irreplaceable. Caleb Downs, irreplaceable. And this last guy, 5-star, true freshman. He had just signed. He had just enrolled. He was on campus in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, Julian Sayin. Now, he doesn't look like your superstar quarterback. He's not 6'5", muscular build, looks like he can do it all. He's kind of a little skinny guy, but 5-star true freshman, number 1 rated quarterback according to ESPN. He can throw the football, and he can throw it extremely well. Now, he's hopped in the transfer portal, and the team he is projected to go to right now is none other than Ohio State. Now, if Ohio State is able to pull this off, they're able to get Caleb Downs from Alabama, and they're able to get Julian Sayin from Alabama. It feels like Ohio State is just boom, 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 launching cannonballs right into Alabama's ship, right into the ship we're on right now. That's why we're spilling water. That's why people are trying to get the water out of the boat, keep it afloat. But you have Ohio State over there, just smooth seas over there. They're just launching cannonballs right at us here to the Alabama Crimson Tide boat. That's what it feels like for your Alabama right now. They're just taking your players. We'll take the best player in the country, and we'll take the best quarterback in the country coming into the season. We'll take them both. Yeah, we'll just give me those guys. Give me those guys. You can't fault Ohio State for taking 2 of the most talented players in the country. You can't fault them for that at all. Now, as I mentioned last week, we're going to have a couple episodes of some issues with college football and how to change those. For now, I'm not going to dive into that at all, because Alabama fans probably won't like what I have to say about that. But right now, Alabama, you're going to be okay. I just got to get this PSA out there to you guys. You're going to be okay. I know it feels like your ship is sinking. I know I have this backdrop of this ship sinking, or maybe we're on a ship that's getting cannonballs fired at it. I know it feels bad. It doesn't feel good to lose your best player. It doesn't feel good to lose your 5-star quarterback coming in. It doesn't feel good. But it'll be okay. Kalen DeBoer knows how to win. He wins with players that are a lot less talented than Caleb Downs, okay? He knows how to get it done. You're going to be just fine. You've been on top of the world for 20 years now. It's okay to be 4th or 5th on the rung now, okay? It's okay. Everything's going to be all right for Alabama. Speaking of everything being all right, let's just talk about Ohio State right now. Everything could not be going better for Ohio State right now. We may transition to a smooth ship over there, maybe a sailboat, just in the open ocean. You got the sun beating down on it. It's just a beautiful backdrop. We went from this ugly, stormy ship sinking. Maybe we're drowning on there. I don't know what it was. And to this smooth ocean, just a beautiful picture. That's what it looks like over there at Ohio State right now. Why is that? Well, number 1, and I think this is the most important thing. Number 1, you are able to keep all of your players. Ohio State has had what some would say the best offseason of any team, and I am in that camp. I think Ohio State has won the offseason so far. And why have they done that? Well, they've been able to keep Travion Henderson. They've kept JT Tuimoloau. I butchered that last name, but JTT. That's all you got to remember. JTT, extremely talented edge player. He stayed. You got Burks staying. Every one of their key playmakers, aside from Marvin Harrison Jr., has elected to come back to school for another year instead of going to the NFL draft. Why is that so important? 1, those players have another year, another spring, another summer with each other to grow that chemistry, that development with each other, another year in a scheme together, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where they just added the most talented defensive player in the country in Caleb Downs. You're going to add him to a defense that was top 5 in nearly every statistical category a year ago. You're adding the best player in the country to that. Whoa. Hold up. How is Ohio State doing this? How is Ryan Day somehow just doing a little puppeteering? How is he getting this done? One of them is money. I think Ohio State is pouring a lot of money into this year. They are putting all of their eggs into this basket. They're saying, hey, first year of the 12-team playoff, we are going to have the most talented team in the entire country. We need to pour everything into this and go win a national championship this year. This is our time. This is what we're going to do. Now, in addition to every single one of their impact players coming back and staying for another year, they are adding, like I mentioned, the most talented player in the country. I cannot state it enough how incredible Caleb Downs is at football. I will likely think that he is going to be a top 3, top 5 pick in the 2026 NFL draft. And you're saying, Ian, that's 2 years away. You can't possibly think that. I can and I will. And I do. And I'm not the only person that thinks that. I'm one of many. Now, you return all of your production. You add a quarterback that a lot of people think is better than Kyle McCord and Will Howard. You add him to the mix. You add a Quinshon Judkins, one of the best running backs in all of college football. You add a Caleb Downs. You return a JTT. You return a Travion Henderson. You return a Emeka Egbuka. They have talent. Nobody's denying that Ohio State lacks the talent. What they have been lacking lately is the coaching to go win these big-time football games, mainly against Michigan. They haven't been able to get over that hump for the last 3 years. But Ryan Day, kudos to him. He went out and did something that I think needs to be talked about more. And it's not like it wasn't being talked about, but a lot of people were doubting the move that he made and kind of bashing who he hired as his offensive coordinator. Now, he went out, hired Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, is now the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Got to take a sip here. Remember, old logo going away, new logo soon to be on this mug. Drink water, remember that. Bill O'Brien coming back to college to be the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, I've seen a lot of people judging this as a bad hire. Bill O'Brien can't get it done in big games. He doesn't have the Super Bowls, the national championships with these college teams that he should have. And why is Ryan Day hiring that guy? Why is he hiring that as his offensive coordinator? He can't get it done. He can't do it. I'm here to say Bill O'Brien can do it. Here's my number one reasoning for why Bill O'Brien is a great hire for Ohio State and Ryan Day. Number one, you have the greatest college football head coach of all time, Nick Saban, and one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time in Bill Belichick. Both of those guys, both of those elite coaches wanted Bill O'Brien to run their offense. They wanted Bill O'Brien to run their offense. And I have to think that the greatest college head coach of all time and one of the greatest NFL head coaches of all time, I like to think they know a little bit about what they're doing. I like to think they make hires that make sense for their program and for their program's future. I like to think they know what they're doing when they hire guys. Now, I may be alone in that. I may be crazy in thinking that Bill Belichick and Nick Saban knew what they were doing when they hired Bill O'Brien. I may be crazy. You guys may think I'm crazy. But one thing I do know is 2 GOATs wanted him to run their offense. And now Ryan Day is thinking he was good enough for Nick Saban. He was good enough for Bill Belichick. He's good enough for The Ohio State University. He is good enough for us. And he's good enough to where I'm going to step away. I'm going to be a head coach. I'm not going to be the OC and head coach anymore. That's not working anymore. I've got to do something different. I've got to give the reins over on the offensive side of the football. I've got to give those reins over to somebody else. I'm going to give it to somebody that has done this before. I'm going to give it to an experienced play caller. I'm going to give it to a guy that is regarded highly by 2 of the most respected coaches in all of college football history, in all of football history, in Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. I'm going to go get a guy that they wanted. I'm going to go get a guy that they had. That's who I'm going to have in charge of my offense and in charge of this new 2024 Ohio State football team. That's what Ryan Day said. And I've got to commend him immensely for that. You look back historically at teams that have won a national championship, and those teams have had head coaches that were hands-off. Whatever their discipline was, whether they were a defensive coordinator prior or an offensive coordinator prior to becoming head coach, 99% of them, Jimbo Fisher exception, but he had an extremely talented Florida State team that was just incredible. 99% of these national championship teams, the head coach is not calling the plays on either the offensive side of the football or the defensive side of the football. And you see this more with offensive-minded coaches like a Ryan Day, like a Lincoln Riley. When they become a head coach, they do not relinquish those duties. Now, some say that it's easier for an offensive coordinator to be a head coach and an OC at the same time, a head coach and a play caller at the same time. And most of the time that is correct. Most of the time you're not seeing a defensive head coach call the plays on defense and be the head coach. You don't see that very often. But you do see a Ryan Day and a Lincoln Riley. That is common around college football. That is very common. However, what you don't see is the guy calling the plays, also being the head coach, also winning a national championship. That is something that does not go hand in hand. Those are not shaking hands and marrying each other. That's not how that works. One, because you're so into your play calls, you're so into what you're developing offensively as your scheme, trying to game plan what the defense is going to do to us. What if they give me this look, I've got to call this play. Instead of handing that off to a Bill O'Brien or somebody else, you're thinking about that during the game when you should be thinking about game management. How are we going to do this if we have a timeout in this situation? If something like this comes up in this scenario in a 2-minute warning, how are we going to juggle all of these things in game situations? I'm the one that calls those shots as the head coach. But if I'm also calling the plays on offense, who's going to be doing that? Ultimately, it's going to be my responsibility because I'm the head coach and that's who people look to when something goes wrong. But if I'm calling the plays offensively and I've got my brain wrapped up in what play I'm going to call on the third drive of the game in 2nd and 8, I'm not thinking about calling this. I'm not thinking about saving this timeout for a 2-minute situation. I'm not thinking about saving this timeout for a game-winning drive at the end of the game. I'm not thinking about that because I'm wrapped up in my play calls. I'm wrapped up in, we've called this one 3 times today, hasn't worked at all. Going to surprise them with a different formation, same concept, see what it does. You're thinking about those things more than you should be thinking about the game management side of it. That's the head coach. Yes, he's going to be talking about play calls with his OC if he's an OC-minded head coach. He's got to be. He's going to be involved in the offense. No doubt about it. But this move from Ryan Day signals to me he is coming at 2024 with a different mentality. Just like Jim Harbaugh did several years ago in revamping his entire defense, going to his brother, hey, what are we going to do defensively? How can I get your defense on my Michigan Wolverine football team? Give me one of your defensive guys. Give me Jesse Minter. Give him to me. Just like Jim Harbaugh did that and totally redid how he thought about his football team, how they practiced, how they played, how they prepared for opponents. That's what Ryan Day is doing right now in January. He is already doing that in advance for the first game in August, for the first game in September. This is a huge move for Ryan Day and Ohio State. Oh, and also he is fired 3 or 4 members of his staff that were not performing well, special teams coordinator, quarterbacks coach, and I believe one more. It's not coming to my mind at this time. But Ryan Day is making some big changes. And usually big changes mean big change in game, in season. Now, I have to think Ryan Day is doing all of this to beat, as they call it, the team up north. And it may seem like smooth seas back here because you're returning all of your talent. You're getting 2 of the most talented players in the portal in Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Downs. You're bringing in a good quarterback that was highly regarded in the transfer portal in Will Howard. You're bringing in a Bill O'Brien to run your offense. It may seem like smooth seas. Everything is going dandy for Ohio State. But inside that ship, you better believe Bill O'Brien, Ryan Day, everybody on that staff, they have one thing in mind, and that's to beat the Michigan Wolverines this year. If they can beat Michigan, they can win a national championship. Why do I say that? Well, Michigan just won the national championship. So by logic, if you beat Michigan, you have a chance at a national championship. No doubt about it. Can they do it? I don't know. We'll see. But the changes Ryan Day is making is signaling to me, should be signaling to everybody, that he's coming at 2024 with a different mentality. He's coming at 2024 shooting cannonballs into the Alabama Crimson Tide ship. He is already coming after people. And it's January. What do you think he's going to do in August, September, October, when it's coming down to the wire in a football game, when he's no longer calling the plays, when he has full attention on the game? I think it's a fantastic move for Ohio State. I think they are going to be a team that nobody wants to play this year. Now, we're going to have some good games in the first couple weeks next year, and we'll see what happens. But I like what Ryan Day is doing over there, overhauling the coaching staff. But for the most part, getting an offensive coordinator in there, firing a couple guys that underperformed, specifically quarterback coach, special teams, two not great positions for Ohio State last year. And you bring in a Bill O'Brien to run your offense. And you bring in a lot of talent in your recruiting class. You bring in a lot of talent through transfer portal. And you retain all of your talent minus a Marvin Harrison Jr. on your already talented football team. Ohio State is coming, and they're coming fast in 2024. Ryan Day is building a monster over there in Columbus. That's all I have for the show tonight, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And remember, be on the lookout for that new logo. I know I was upset with you earlier in the show for not helping me out, but it doesn't matter. We got it figured out here at the Ian Fritz Show. We tapped into our resources. We tapped into our creative sides of our brain, and we got it done. So I'm excited for you guys to see the logo. Like the video. Comment on the video. If you disagree with me on something, comment down there. I'll comment back. At me on Twitter if you have a question for me. We can start doing that on the show. So follow on Twitter, follow on Instagram, TikTok over there. Subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Maybe this week, maybe next weekend. Not sure yet, but thank you guys for watching. I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
35-30, 35-40, 45-50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going